In this video, we're going to be going over how to complete the square and then writing the solution in vertex form, which is y equals a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. Let's review exactly how to complete our square. So first, if there's an a value that's not a 1, then you'll need to divide everything by a. So you'll have to factor that a out. Then you'll write plus leave a space in the c's spot, divide the b value by 2, then square the answer from step 2, and then write the answer from step 3 into the c's place. Let's go back to our examples and work some of these out. So in letter A, we have x squared minus 12x equals c. So our c value is already away from our a and our b, which is perfect. So we're set up and pretty much ready to go. Our a value is a 1, and so we don't need to worry about factoring anything out. So we're going to have x squared minus 12x plus leave a space equals 6 plus leave a space, because whatever you do to the left side of the equation, you have to do to the right side as well to keep it balanced. Then we're going to take our b value of negative 12 and divide it by 2, which gives us a value of negative 6. Then we'll take that value, and we will square it. And that's going to give us a positive 36. So we're going to plug our 36 into our leave a spaces. That's where that goes. Factored form, we'll have x. Then we look at what number we squared. Well, we squared the negative 6. So that's going to be the number that we use in writing our factored form. So we'll have x minus 6 quantity squared equals, then we're going to take our 6 plus 36, and that's the number that we're going to drop into this place right here. So that's our 44. Now we're almost in factored form. We have our h and our k, but they're separated from each other. So to move that over, we're going to go ahead and subtract 44 from both sides, which is going to give us a final answer here of x minus 6 quantity squared minus the 44 equals 0. And this is our vertex form. And so we are finished. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at letter B and give that a try. So here we see that our a is a negative 1, and that's going to be a problem. Our c is on the other side, so that's still good. So what we're going to go ahead and do now, so because our a is a negative 1, we're going to have to factor out a negative 1. So we're going to factor out a negative 1, and what this is going to give us here is, well, negative 1 times x squared minus 12x, and we still have our plus leave a space, equals negative 5 plus, now this is where it might get a little bit tricky. So we have our plus leave a space over here, but notice that here that negative 1 is going with our plus leave a space, which means we need that to happen on this side as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that number and we're going to put it over here. So minus 1, and then whatever number we plug in is going to go, like from our blue, from our squaring, is going to go right there. And you'll kind of see that as we go through this problem. So next, we're going to take this b value and we're going to divide that by 2. So that's going to give us a negative 6. Then we square that value, which gives us the 36. And that value is going to go in our plus leave a spaces. So now we're going to write it in factored form. So we have negative 1 times x minus 6. Remember, we get that minus 6 from right here. Then quantity squared. Now over here, we need to take this and plug this into the calculator, because we have negative 5 plus negative 1 times the 36. We're going to plug that in to see what we get. So equals, and when we plug that in, that's going to give us a negative 41. And then we're almost done. We just need to move that 41 over. And so our final answer is going to be negative x minus 6 quantity squared plus 41 equals 0. Now notice that right here I just wrote a negative sign because we usually don't write -1. We usually just have a negative in the front. If you wanted to put a -1 there, it wouldn't be wrong and that would be okay as well. But this is going to be our final answer. So let's have you do letter C and letter D on your own. So go ahead and push pause and work those problems out. And then when you're done, push play and let's see if you were right. So for letter C, the first thing you need to do is move the 6 over because we don't want that next to our A and our B. It needs to be over there. So if we move that over by adding 6 to each side, we're now working with 3x squared plus 9x plus leave a space equals 6 plus leave a space. Notice that we have a 3 as our A value. So we're going to need to factor out a 3. So we're going to divide these by 3. So we're going to have 3 and then x squared plus 9x. We still have our plus leave a space equals 6 plus, now remember we factored out a 3. So our 3 needs to go in our plus leave a space ready to be multiplied. From here, we're now going to take that 9 and we're going to divide it by 2. So we're going to have 9 over 2 and we're going to square that, which is going to give us a value of 81 over 4. So we're going to add 81 over 4 to our plus leave a spaces. So again, this value is what goes into those spaces right there. And now we're ready to write this in factored form. So we'll have 3 times our x, and because the 9 halves is positive, we'll have a positive 9 halves quantity squared equals, and we'll plug this into our calculator, which is going to give us a kind of a big number. It's going to give us a 267 over 4. Now we're not worried about this because we're not really doing a lot with it. To finish our problem, we just need to subtract that over to the other side. So those will cancel out, and it will leave us with our final answer of 3 times x plus 9 halves quantity squared minus 267 over 4 equals 0, and we're finished. For letter D, you needed to have moved the 4 over first, giving you a negative 2x squared plus 14x plus leave a space equals 4 plus leave a space. Then factored out the negative 2. So if we factor out the negative 2, we factor that out, we get the negative 2 times x squared minus 7x plus leave a space equals 4 plus negative 2 times whatever we're going to put in our leave a space. And we're going to take that negative 7 and divide it by 2, which gives us a negative 7 over 2. And we'll square that, which will give us a 49 over 4. So we're going to put that into our leave a space. Right, so this number goes in that space. Then we're going to write it in factored form. So we have our x, and then because this is a negative 7 over 2, we have minus 7 over 2 quantity squared. And don't forget that you need to take that negative 2 with. You can't just leave that off. So the negative 2's got to go there as well. And that's going to equal our other side. So we're going to plug that into the calculator, which is going to give us a negative 41 over 2. And again, we're not worried by the fact that that's a fraction because all we need to do is to add that over to the other side. So we get negative 2 times x minus 7 over 2 quantity squared plus the 41 over 2 that we just had, and set that equal to 0, and we're finished. And so that is how to complete the square and then write the solution in vertex form.